Which theme park is better, Disneyland or Disney World? Fellow explorers, if this is your first time here, my name is Chris, and I've been a Disneyland pass holder for about 20 years, and I just returned from a trip to Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and so I thought it was just about time to make this comparison video. I'm going to be ranking these two parks in 10 different areas, and so there's a total of 10 points to go around. Who's going to take the lead? I'm going to be comparing history, location, size, transportation, weather, rides, water parks, hotels, food, and the shopping at these parks, and we're going to find out once and for all, is Disneyland better or is Disney World better? All right, and for those of you on the live stream, I look forward to hearing your perspective, which park you like better in these respective areas and why. All right, so the first area I want to look at is the history between these two parks. Disneyland right here in Anaheim, California is the original Disney theme park. It opened its doors in July 17th, 1955, opening with just a few different areas: Main Street, Fantasyland, Adventureland, Frontierland, and Tomorrowland. Disneyland was really Walt Disney's park. He had a personal touch on it, and I feel that when you're there, you can just feel a bit of Walt's magic coming through in the park. Disney World in Orlando, Florida opened in 1971, about 15 years later. Unfortunately, Walt Disney passed 5 years before Disney World opened. The park was based on his vision, but not directly executed by him. And so I really think Disneyland wins on the history perspective because there's only one original park, and I do think there is some magic that just comes with the first thing that he created. All right, and by the way, when we look at the opening of Disney World, it's an old pick too, but not as old as 1955. All right, so with this, the first area, history, the first point is going to go to Disneyland. We've got Disneyland 1, Disney World 0. All right, let's go to the second area to compare them against, which is location. Now, what is this small map? I'm going to go ahead and make it bigger. This is a map of where Disneyland is. Disneyland is in Southern California. Many people say it's in Los Angeles, but it's actually that red pin you see on the map in Orange County, which is this little county between Los Angeles and San Diego to the south. Now, most people, when they come to Disneyland, they fly into LAX, LA International Airport, but John Wayne Orange County Airport is actually so much better and so much closer. One of the great things I think about Disneyland is it's close to all of the Los Angeles area attractions. So you can go to Hollywood, you can go to Santa Monica, there's all the great beaches here, and so I think there's a lot of really great things to do around Anaheim, around the original Disneyland. It's also adjacent to the Anaheim Convention Center. Disney often has their D23 conference at the Convention Center in Anaheim. There's also Star Wars Celebration, often held in Anaheim. VidCon, the annual YouTube conference, held in Anaheim. So there's a lot of great things about the Southern California location. Disney World is in Orlando, Florida. It's that red dot on the map here in the center of the state of Florida, right there. And a lot of people, when they think of Orlando, they think of beaches, but Orlando it's really nowhere near the beach. I mean, it's an hour from from the East Coast and the West Coast of Florida, and so there are no beaches in Orlando or near Disney World. All the beaches are going to be at least an hour drive away. What is in Orlando, though? It is the theme park capital of the world. There's like every theme park you could imagine in Orlando, Florida. You know, but you go like, well, what's the next big city? It's Miami. It's about 4 hours to Miami. And so I'm going to say on the location, you know, while Los Angeles doesn't have as many theme parks as Orlando does, it's a close second in theme parks in the USA. LA has the original Universal Studios. It has Six Flags Magic Mountain. There's Knott's Berry Farm. SeaWorld and Legoland, which are in Orlando, are also just down the road in San Diego and Southern California. And so obviously where you're coming from is going to affect location for you. But if you're not like coming from the East Coast of the US or the West Coast of the US, you're coming from Australia or the UK, and you can go anywhere I think the location of Disneyland is better than the location of Disney World because there's so much other stuff to do around Southern California. So we're gonna get the second point to Disneyland. Right now we got Disneyland 2, Disney World 0. Phil here in the chat says the weather at Disneyland is so much nicer. The humidity in Florida, for sure. And we're gonna get to weather in point number 5, but Phil's not far off. All right, let's go to area number 3, which is size. The size of these two parks couldn't be like more different. The size and scope, very different. This is the map of Disneyland Resort. So there's Disneyland, the park, and then there's Disneyland, the resort. And it's kind of different because in Disney World, there's really no theme park called Disney World. There's 4 theme parks: Magic Kingdom, Epcot, the Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. And then at Disneyland, there are 2 theme parks, Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, and then the resort is Disneyland Resort. And if we look at this bigger map right here, then you can see the 2 parks are up on this side right here. There's downtown Disney in the middle, which is like the shopping district that connects those 2 parks to the 3 hotels. And then there's some parking lots. So that's the once over on the Disneyland Resort. It is 510 acres. It's pretty small. It's pretty small, but that makes it intimate. Intimate is the word I'm gonna use. Disney World is massive. Disney World is 27,000 acres compared to 510 at Disneyland. And so within Disney World, everything is really, really far away. So you spend a lot of time transiting between all these different things. Here, if we go ahead and make this a little bit bigger, you know, and while on a map, you're like, Chris, those things all look pretty close together. I mean, to get from Hollywood Studios to Magic Kingdom up in the top is like a 15-minute drive. And that's assuming you could actually drive and park at the front gate, but you gotta like drive and park and then take a boat or take a monorail. And so you spend a lot of time trying to get to all these things at the Magic Kingdom. And so most people visit Disneyland for just a couple days. Most people visit Disney World for like 5 days or a week because there's so much and it's so spread out. You need that time to see all of it. Things at Disney World just are bigger in size and scope. Even the castle is bigger at Disney World. The Disney World castle is nearly twice the size, more than twice the height of the Disneyland castle. Disneyland castle, 77 feet tall. Disney World castle, 189 feet tall. Now, because Disney World is bigger, it feels less busy when it's crowded and there's more other things to do, but bigger is not always better. I think the size and scope of Disneyland makes it more charming. I think the fact that you can walk to everything and you can really just kind of feel it and take it all in, I like the size of Disneyland better. So we got Disneyland 3 and we've got Disney World 0 because Disneyland wins on size. By the way, MP sent a "You are amazing" sticker. MP in the chat, you are amazing. Thank you for your support. All right, the next topic we're gonna go on to is number 4, which is transportation. And transportation, well, which one's better for transportation, Disneyland or Disney World? And in Disneyland right here, like their real cool transportation option is the monorail. That's a picture of the monorail wrapped in a cool Disney skin right there that takes you from the downtown Disney district into Disneyland theme park. It has 2 stops, one here in downtown Disney. It has a second stop in Disneyland. To ride it, you need a theme park ticket because it goes into the theme parks. And really, in my opinion, the monorail at Disneyland is not like, it's really not transportation. Like, I often feel like by the time you wait in line and it's really slow, you could have walked into the park in the same time you spent riding the monorail. I guess it's historic, but it's small. It goes really slow. And the other transportation options at Disneyland, there's the parking tram. It's this, little thing that gets you in the parking garage. And then they got some buses if you're coming in from the far off lots. Now, what does Disney World have? Well, Disney World actually has a lot of amazing transportation options. The monorail at Disney World, I feel like it's Walt's vision of a monorail, which is like real transportation. It goes to numerous hotels on the property. There are three different lines for the monorail. There's a central hub. You can go to the resorts. You can go to the Magic Kingdom. You can go to Epcot Center. It goes actually quite fast. And so the monorail is a real transportation option at Disney World. It is free to ride at Disney World. You do not need a park ticket to ride it because it doesn't actually drop you in the park. It drops you outside the park. Disney World also has ride share. They have particular lift vans you can get at Disney World. They call them minivans. They're decorated like Minnie Mouse and kind of red and polka dots. There are boats, and my favorite way to get around Disney World is this thing called the Skyliner, which is like a gondola system that'll take you between Epcot and Hollywood Studios into a few different theme parks. You don't have to pay to ride this gondola. You just go on it for free. I spent a good hour of one of my days entertaining myself by just riding this gondola, getting off at the different hotels, enjoying the view. And we just came back from Whistler in Canada, where we paid hundreds of dollars to ride the gondolas there, albeit to the top of a mountain, but I paid $0 to ride the gondola at Disney World, which is neat. Phil says, I really wish they would bring the People Mover back at Disneyland. Great ride to take a break with two small kids. I really miss the People Mover at Disneyland too. They should totally bring that back. Oh, and MP says, if you're watching and you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up button. I would appreciate that. Every like helps the Yellow Productions crew, and it helps YouTube know that you enjoy this video so they can share it with others. There's 115 of you on right now, and there are 43 likes. I'd love to get that up to at least 75. So you could help me give a thumbs up. If you're watching the archive, it really helps too to make this video go a little bit further. All right, so in the transportation section, Disney World is going to win in the transport section. So Disney World gets its first point on the board. We've now got Disneyland 3, Disney World 1. And I will say, though, that although Disney World wins in the transport, we talked about this before in size, is this a good win? Because they got all these great transportation options, but you are spending a lot more time riding it. And Pedro Foyt says there are 5 trains, maybe within the different parks or things like that, but not to get you around Disney World proper. All right. So, yeah, and Brandon says if they can bring the People Mover back at Walt Disney World, they can do so for land, and I hope they do. All right. Let's go to the next area. We're going to rate these two parks in. Weather. Is the weather at Disneyland better, or is the weather at Disney World better? And first, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather at Disneyland. This is a forecast for this week in Anaheim, California, where Disneyland is located. And Disneyland, I think, has better weather than Disney World does. They're both hot places in the summer, but Southern California is a dry heat, and it's true what they say about a dry heat. A dry heat is so much better than a moist, humid, energy, life-sucking heat. This is the weather forecast for this same week in Orlando, and we look at the temperatures, and it's about 10 degrees higher for the high temperature. Also, if we compare the humidity this week in SoCal, it's about 60% humidity. It's about 77% in Orlando. So 10 degrees higher, stickier, and it rains way more in Orlando too. There's a much higher percentage chance you're gonna have a rain out in Orlando. And you can even tell the way they've built the parks in Orlando. There are a lot more overhangs, covered walkways, simply because they need them. Otherwise, you're gonna be getting soaked. And in Orlando, all the gift shops sell rain gear and rain jackets. Really something you only need about 10 days out of the year. In Disneyland, you'll need your rain jacket more to ride Splash Mountain than you likely will on an actual rainy day. And yeah, Phil points out and says, the humidity in Florida is oppressive. It is oppressive. I agree. And Isla, she's checking out the live stream. Bye, Isla. Thanks for coming. Randy says the People Mover will probably never return to Disneyland. Rocket rods ruin the truck. Well, that's a bummer. All right, I've been talking for a little bit. It is time to drink something. What is Chris drinking today? Today I am drinking this green tea drink from Japan, Na Matcha by Kieran. This one made in Japan. What's interesting about this particular drink, because it's actually made from like actual tea leaves and things like that, it gives you a tip on here that says like, hey, when you drink it, make sure to turn it over and shake it, because it actually had a bunch of like tea sediment that collected on the bottom. I like tea made of actual tea leaves instead of tea made of tea dust. And it's quite refreshing. I am enjoying the Na Matcha green tea, a nice, bold, strong tea flavor of actual tea leaves. And Valerian says green tea, non-sugar. No sugar there. This is not sweetened at all. I don't like really my teas sweetened, but I guess that's probably another difference. If you're in the South, down in Florida, your iced tea is likely going to be sweetened. In California, it's likely going to be unsweetened. That's the big difference. Okay, so in weather, Disneyland is going to win in the weather department. That's 4 points for Disneyland, 1 point for Disney World. We are halfway through. We're now in the second stretch of the contest. We're on to number 6. All right, 6 is rides. Is Disneyland better in rides, or is Disney World better in rides? Here we're looking at a picture of Disney California Adventure, and this is one of my favorite rides at Disney California Adventure. This is the roller coaster over in Disney California Adventure. Makes a loop, has like the electromagnetic startup. It is pretty fun. Now, in the two parks, they have some of the same rides, they have some different rides, and some of the same rides are different, oddly enough. Like you go on Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's different between Disneyland and Disney World. You go on Space Mountain, and it's different at Disneyland than Disney World. It's the same name, but it's a different ride. You go on It's a Small World, it's different at the two parks. That's like one of the things that I was like, I don't know, I thought these rides would all be the same, and it turns out the rides are not the same. And you know what? It's really a mixed bag as to whether you think the original's better or you think the revamped one's a little bit better. I think the party's out on a lot of those for a lot of the different rides. In Disney's Animal Kingdom, I do really like their safari ride there. I feel like they made the Jungle Cruise if Walt Disney could have got like real animals in the 1950s. And so they've got a safari that actually goes around real animals that is just super neat. Leave it up to Disney to do a zoo even better than zoos do zoos. Now, one surprising thing as I was researching and putting this together about rides is you would think that Disney World with 4 theme parks would have 4 times the rides of Disneyland. And it doesn't. Spoiler alert, both parks have about 50 rides. Disneyland is in the low 50s, Disney World is in the high 50s. So there are a few more rides at Disney World. It's like 59 versus 52, depending upon the time you count, how you count. But in Anaheim, they are in 2 parks, and in Disney World, they're in 4 parks. And so if your goal is to go to one of these resorts and ride all the rides, well, Disney World is going to be harder, and it's going to take you longer because you're going to have to go to these 4 parks, go in the 4 parks, transit between them to ride the rides. Whereas Disneyland, you just have to go to 2 parks, and so it's a lot easier to ride the 50-some rides. But in this case, you know, Disney World actually has. What am I on here? I'm on numbers. In this case, yeah, Disney World, because they have more rides, Disney World wins in this category. So now we've got Disneyland 4, Disney World 2. All right, so 6 points on the board, 4 Disneyland, 2 Disney World. We're now on to number 7, water parks. And before we get to water parks, let's just take some comments in the chat about rides. Toby here says, you also have to pay for each park in Disney World. Well, you get a park hopper, you pay for the parks, but yeah, you gotta pay to go into 4 and spend the time to go into 4. Kathy asks, what was my favorite ride when I went to Walt Disney World? I won't remember the name of this one because there's just so many names of rides, but at Animal Kingdom, I really like the roller coaster they have there that goes up like forward and you see a Yeti and then the roller coaster starts to go backwards. I think that is pretty neat. And Justin says, I was so disappointed with Space Mountain in Florida compared to California. I was concerned there was no seatbelt, but was explained when I found out the ride was very lame. Justin, I agree. The Space Mountain ride in Disney World is really lame. It's so lame. It's lame compared to the one at Disneyland in Anaheim. The one in Disneyland, Space Mountain, is a true roller coaster. It goes really fast. And the one in Orlando feels more like the Matterhorn, which is just sort of a kind of slow, lame ride, if you ask me. So if you've been to Space Mountain at Disneyland, I wouldn't even bother to go on Space Mountain in Orlando. All right, and we got some great Disney fans in the chat. Narrow Road says Expedition Everest, and so does Jeff. Thanks for helping me get the name of that roller coaster at Animal Kingdom. Elizabeth says, I'd love to go to Animal Kingdom. That'll be a few years down the track. Valerian says, which rides are the best adult size rides? Well, at Disneyland, definitely Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Splash Mountain, I think are some of the best like adult rides at Disneyland. And then at California Adventure Park, the roller coaster, there's a great adult ride. And then certainly Galaxy's Edge, the rides in Galaxy's Edge, Rise of the Resistance, super designed for adults. One of my favorite is the Pixar's Toy Story Midway Mania. That's kind of a neat shooting game. And then only in California, at California Adventure, is the in Cars Land. They have like the racers. I forget the name, with 100 rides or something like that. You know, it's hard to remember the names of that. But they got the Cars Land ride with the racers, and I think that one's a lot of fun too. That if you're in Epcot, then it's basically called Test Track in Epcot Center. So those are some of my favorite adult rides. And Calgary says Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy, used to be the Hollywood Terror Hotel. Now it's the big drop ride. That's an adult ride. I don't love drop rides, so I don't love that. Grant says there's only an 8-mile-per-hour difference between the Space Mountains. I don't know, that 8 miles per hour feels pretty big. And thank you, Radiator Springs Racers, says quite a few of you, so thank you for being my virtual brain here on the live stream. And by the way, I just saw we got our likes up to 76 likes, so thank you everybody for hitting that like button. If you haven't already, please hit it for anybody new that joined in. And Pro Wrestling as Art says the Avatar Land and Flights of Passage is way better than the actual movie. I don't know, I enjoyed the Avatar movie too, but the land is neat as well. And Kathy says she got stuck on Midway Mania in California Adventure. Did you break it, Kathy? What happened? Did you not put in enough quarters or something like that? Oscar says, do both parks have Star Wars attractions? Yes, both. The Disneyland and Disney World have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's basically the same land in both places. In Disneyland, it's in the Disneyland park, and then in Disney World, they didn't put it into Magic Kingdom. At Disney World, they put it in Hollywood Studios. So that's where it is if you're looking for it there. All right, so just to recap our score, it's currently Disneyland 4, Disney World 2. And now we're going to talk about water parks and water rides. So what about water parks? Aren't those rides? Water parks are rides. And Disneyland doesn't have any. Disneyland doesn't have any water parks. What Disneyland does have is a water park nearby, just down the road, a mile or so away, is the Great Wolf Lodge. This is the Great Wolf Lodge. It's basically a hotel that also has a water park in it. And so I think that counts as a Disneyland water park, because at Disney World, you got to pay separate admission for the water parks anyway. And they're not any closer than the Great Wolf Lodge is to Disneyland. But Disney World doesn't just have one water park. It has 2 water parks, although one's been closed for a little while for them fixing it. But Disney World has 2 water parks. Oh, it has 4 golf courses. It also has a campgrounds. And so just by virtue of 2 water parks, Disney World's gonna win in the water parks department. And so now we've got Disneyland 4, Disney World 3. All right, Disney World's catching up. What's it gonna be? We got 3 more points to go. Phil says, my kids enjoyed Blizzard Beach, one of the Disney World's water parks. Points Traveler says, I miss the Norwegian boat ride at Epcot. Wish they hadn't replaced it with a cheesy Frozen ride. Yeah, by the way, for anybody going to Disney World, Epcot, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, Walt's vision for like a futuristic city, is probably the most adult-oriented of the 4 parks at Disney World. And Brandon helped me 4-3. Thank you very much. And Emmett says, I'm a lazy river addict. Lazy rivers are my favorite ride in any water park, maybe because I am lazy too. All right. And Zachary Smith says, Wiley the Wolf at the Great Wolf Lodge would eat Mickey Mouse. It can't count as a Disney property. No, but it's Disney adjacent, and Disney World got the points anywhere. Oscar says, what would be your preference, California, Florida? You mean between the 2 states? I mean, California would be my preference, and we can talk about why, maybe perhaps later, if you want to know. Chris, but why? You didn't ask why. You just asked which one is my preference for a state. Maybe because I live in California too, so I might be partial to that. All right, let's talk about the hotels between Disneyland and Disney World. At Disneyland, there are 3 hotels. Disneyland Hotel, like the Paradise Pier, something that's a part of California Adventure. There's sort of a not great hotel, which is the 3rd one. And then there's the Grand Californian Lodge, which is really neat, but honestly only one of the 3 Disneyland hotels is neat. This hotel called the Disneyland Hotel, the original one, it's kind of lame if you ask me. It's kind of boring. It's kind of a nondescript, boring 1970s office building looking like hotel. The Grand Californian Lodge, what's really neat about that is it's directly connected into Disney's California Adventure. Like if you're staying at that hotel, off the side of a lobby is a direct entrance into the theme park, which that's super neat and that's super convenient. Like you don't gotta take a bus, you don't gotta take a monorail, you don't even have to walk. You just like leave the lobby and you are in California Adventure. Tokyo Disney has similar things for some of their hotels that they enter into the park directly, which I just think is super neat. It's super neat to have views from the hotel directly into the theme park as well. Now, compared to the 3 at Disneyland, how many hotels does Disney World have? Disney World has 30 hotels that are on property. Some of them are not operated by Disney. It's like 22 is the number of those 30 that are operated by Disney. The other ones are operated by, the Marriotts of the world. And many of them are really amazing. This is the Grand Floridian Hotel, which is like, I think it's inspired by the Hotel Del here in Southern California, in Coronado, which is in San Diego. It's been voted one of the best beaches in the world, but there's this, in Coronado, the original hotel that looks like this is the largest wooden hotel on the west coast of the US. But the Grand Floridian, when you go in, it just has this like old Victorian feel. It's a really neat hotel. It's gonna cost you like $700 or $800 a night. It is not cheap. But also the off-site hotels around Disney World is pretty good. There's like JW Marriott's and Hyatt's and pretty good hotels. Now, back at Disneyland, and actually, let's see, in the chat here, somebody said, well, related to hotels, Geoman says Disneyland has plenty of hotels near Disneyland, so it doesn't really matter there. The thing is that the other hotels near Disneyland, especially the ones closest to Disneyland, they're like really crappy motels. They're really crappy motels that just kind of like churn people in and churn people out because they know the guests are never going to be back. Near the Anaheim Convention Center, there's some better hotels. There's a Marriott, there's a Hilton, but they're not great properties. The last 2 years has seen a JW Marriott open and a Westin open, so some higher ended properties, which I really like, but Disney World has even more higher ended and nicer properties. And then in Disney World, like I say, the off-site hotels, they're even better, but they are way further than the ones in Anaheim. I mean, the nice thing about Anaheim is the I'm gonna ballpark it at 50. There's 50 hotels from Disneyland that are all within walking distance of a few blocks, which is pretty neat. But they're not all that great. Brooklyn Joe says they stayed at the Grand Floridian, and the best part was the free bus to the park. Brooklyn Joe, and do you mean by that the hotel itself wasn't great, or that you also really appreciated the free bus ride? I'm curious, because I have not stayed at a room in the Grand Floridian. I've just walked around the property, and it looks pretty neat. Alan says, Shades of Green at Disney World is a resort run by the Department of Defense. Rates depend on rank and pay grade. That's really interesting. I did not know that the DoD had a hotel at Disney World. And Kyle says, if you're going to Disneyland in Anaheim, stay at the Marriott Laguna Cliff at Dana Point and just spend the money on a lift to Disneyland. Dana Point is really nice. I've been to that Marriott. It's pretty nice too, or at least around the property. Justin asks if I would stay at the Star Wars Hotel in Florida in Orlando. $5,000 for 2 nights is outrageous. I would stay there for maybe $500, but I agree with you. $5,000 for 2 nights is outrageous. So the answer is no. Brooklyn says about the Grand Floridian Hotel, he really appreciated the bus and the rooms were great. All right, thanks for that perspective too. I think that is a great reason to stay on property at Disney World is the resort transportation and the buses that takes you direct from the hotels to the parks. Anthony says, yeah, you have to have a load of money to stay at the resorts close to Walt Disney World. Yeah, in Walt Disney World, the close to park hotels are like $500 a night, maybe starting up to $700 or $800 a night. And then there's the value resorts that basically, that's code name for far away, and fancy motels are like $200 a night. Christopher says at Disney World, there are 2 hotels called the Swan and the Dolphin, operated by Marriott. Indeed, and those are some of the mega hotels on the property. Phil says, that's why Walt built Disney World. He couldn't stand all the buildings around the Disneyland park. Yeah, and I guess by that you mean all of the sucky motels around Disneyland Park. Brooklyn says, I believe they're stopping the bus shuttle to the park, at least for free. I don't know how that would work, really, because there's a bunch of hotels that you still need to do. And like for hotel, like people are paying the room rates anyway. So, I mean, I think that would be a bad move if they did that, but I'll go ahead and believe you. Because I don't have any better information. Zachary says, as a child, I stayed at the now defunct Nickelodeon Hotel near Disney World. So many fun memories of what I would now call a creepy hotel property. Tokyo Spin asks if I'm a Disneyland Tokyo or Disney Sea Tokyo guy. Between the 2 parks, I am a Disney Sea Tokyo guy because Disney Sea is a unique park only to Tokyo. And I think the whole Duffy thing there is really neat too. Tokyo Spin, which park are you of the Tokyo parks? Brandon says, Disney Tokyo learned its lessons from the American parks. Yeah, they made it big with lots of room. So I really like that too. Pro Wrestling says, I work at Disneyland Resort in California, but I prefer Disney World because of Country Bears, Carousel of Progress, and the People Mover, and the Epcot Festival. You know what? I think this is one of these like grass is greener on the other side. Pro Wrestling is art, because when I checked in at the Beach Club Resort at Disney World, the person checking me in said she liked Disneyland better than Disney World. And so maybe it's just the one that you don't visit as often you have a tendency to like better, right? And one of the cool hotel designs at Disney World is the Contemporary Hotel, which is one of the hotels near the Magic Kingdom, so the House of Mickey at Disney World. And what's cool is the monorail actually goes through the middle of the hotel. Like, it's a tall, kind of high-rise hotel, and then through the middle of it, there's an opening, and right above the lobby, inside the hotel, the monorail comes right in, and so you board it from in the hotel. Super cool design. All right, so who is going to win in the hotel category? Is it Disneyland, Disney World? You know, the hotels are expensive at Disney World, but they're better. And so Disney World's gonna win in this category. We now have Disneyland with 4 points and Disney World with 4 points. We're neck and neck. We've got 2 more areas to rate them on. Which park's gonna win? It's gonna be Disneyland or Disney World. Let's see. By the way, if you're watching the archive and you want to play a drinking game, drink every time Chris says Disney in this video. He'll be drinking quite a bit. All right, so food. 9th area, food. Where is the food better? Is the food better at Disneyland, or is the food better at Disney World? Starting with Disneyland, Disneyland, the perk of Disneyland is there's like a whole city outside of Disneyland. And so there is more and better, cheaper options near the park than there is at Walt Disney World. At Walt Disney World, you are a captive audience. There ain't no food anywhere nearby because it's all Disney all the time. Where in Anaheim, you can like stumble out of the park and walk 5 minutes from the front gate of Disneyland and find yourself a International House of Pancakes, a Denny's, a reasonably priced taco shop. And many of the people at Disneyland end up eating their meals outside the parks. I mean, maybe not lunch, like lunch is the in-park meal, but I would say many people go into Disneyland, particularly if they're staying at the off-site hotels, they eat breakfast outside the park. Maybe they go into the park midday, eat lunch in one of the theme parks, and then, or at downtown Disney, because you can walk to it from the parks because it's in between the two. And then for dinner, maybe back out on town in Anaheim and not in the theme parks and not in the hotels. So better, cheaper food around Disneyland. But Disney World, I think, actually focuses more on the food than Disneyland does, because Disney World knows that you're going to be staying there for 5 days or 7 days and you're not going to be going off property all that much, that we would all get sick and tired of theme park food all the time. And so the food at the resorts in Disney World, I think, is better than the food at the resorts at Disneyland. And there's more high-end restaurants that just serve better food at Disney World, frankly. Now, reservations are more critical at Disney World because there's more people that are just planning to eat all of their meals there. And so like a Disney World trip, like you better reserve your dining reservations 60 days ahead of time. Otherwise, you're likely going to be hungry. Yeah, Geoman says, we tried Mexican food at Disney World. It was sad compared to what is around Disneyland. I could totally believe that. I had a burrito when I was leaving Orlando from the airport to Cubota or something like that. And I had to like vindicate Mexican food by eating a burrito the day after when I got back to Southern California, because it was just like, I mean, I guess it's a burrito in spirit, but not in taste at all. And Randy says the churros are way better in Disneyland. I've not compared the churros, but I know I do like the churros at Disneyland. So thanks for that report. I'm curious, are there other opinions on the churros in the chat? Other people, have you had the churros at Disneyland? Have you had the churros at Disney World? Where did the churros win? Narrow Road agrees, don't get them at Walt Disney World. Let's see, Toby says, my favorite restaurant at Disney World was California Grill at the Contemporary Resort. Perfect view of the fireworks night. That is pretty neat. Alex says a burrito in spirit by Chris Rainey. Is that gonna be the name of my autobiography that I write or something like that? A burrito in spirit. Lydia says, I prefer Disney World. Like as a park, or you mean the churros you prefer at Disney World? And right, Points Traveler says, you can't talk about food without talking about Epcot, fantastic food from around the world. Great point, Points Traveler. So theme park food, usually people consider pretty lame, but Epcot in Disney's experimental prototype City of Tomorrow, Community of Tomorrow, one of those two, like every land is a different like country, like Japan and France, and they've got like really good food from those places. Epcot has a fantastic food and wine festival that they run in there, and so the food in Epcot, even though it's a theme park, it's really pretty tasty. And Disney California Adventure does like a similar food and wine festival, which is like what I have this picture from there, where I got like Walt's chili and a Mickey waffle, but there's like way less stalls and it's much busier, and it's just not executed as well at Disneyland as it is at Epcot because, well, you see, at many of the parks, also in Disney World, there's less rides. At Epcot, there's less rides. And so they need to like give you more entertaining things to do in the parks, because you don't spend as much time on the rides. You got to spend more time sitting down, eating, enjoying the good food. Right, Joshua Carter says Earl of Sandwich is at Disney World. and not at Disneyland. Come on, we need to get Earl of Sandwich back. I agree. I fell in love with Earl of Sandwich for the first time at Disney World. That's where I had it the first time. And then it opened at Planet Hollywood in Vegas, and I was super happy about that. And then it opened at Disneyland, and I was super happy about that, and now it's closed at Disneyland, and Chris is very sad. I love the hot sandwiches at Earl of Sandwich. And Calgary says, we need more food outlets in Disneyland parks, always a lineup, especially for the churros, and yes, we sure do. And I really enjoyed this time seeing how big Disney Springs has gotten in Walt Disney World. Like all the food options there is pretty massive, but anyway, and I see there's like mixed reports of which churros are better. Like Priscilla says the churros are better at Disney World, so it's I think there's a fight on. But Emmett says I'll take a snow cone and a corn dog and then call it all day. I really like the Disneyland corn dogs. They are my favorite corn dogs anywhere for sure. And it's just not me. I think like churros and corn dogs at Disneyland are like the food to eat. My next favorite food at Disneyland to eat is, what's the name of the place? The fried chicken, like in the main street by the castle. There's the place that sells the fried chicken. You like fried chicken, potatoes, green beans, super delicious. And then I also love the Blue Bayou restaurant, which is the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's the restaurant inside the Pirates Caribbean. Only at Disneyland, special place in my heart for that restaurant. I have celebrated many a birthday at the Blue Bayou at Disneyland. But the food at Disney World is just better than the food at Disneyland. And so now our score is Disneyland 4, Disney World 5. All right, 4 to 5. We've got one more category we're gonna rate these in, which is shopping. Are we gonna tie it up, or is one of the parks gonna move ahead? I mean, if we tie it up, we'll probably have to have a tiebreaker, but we're gonna go ahead and see. All right, so shopping at Disneyland. Disneyland has this district called Downtown Disney. There's a picture of it. Why is nobody there? I took this during the pandemic when they just like kind of reopened, and so there's nobody there. But there's like, it's really busy now. Like if you go there right now, it's probably packed with people, particularly because it's Halloween season. Downtown Disney at Disneyland is like a connector. I mean, you could almost consider it like a walkway with stores on the side. It connects the parking and the hotels to the two parks. Like that's sort of what its purpose is, to like walk through this place as you're going from the parking garage, as you're going from the hotels into the parks. It's not very big. It's pretty small. It's pretty quaint. But it is like neatly themed, and it is nice that it's walking distance from the park. So you can pop out of Disneyland or California Adventure for lunch. You can go get your Earl of Sandwich for lunch. You don't need to take a bus or a monorail or a boat to get there. You just kind of like walk out and go eat. They often have live entertainment at Downtown Disney, but you do have to pay for parking. That's one of the significant differences in California versus Florida. California, you got to pay for parking if you're coming to Downtown Disney. In Florida, the parking is free at Disney Springs, which is their equivalent, although Disney Springs does not connect any of the parks together. It's like an island of its own in a separate part of the park, so you either gotta like drive or take a bus or take a lift or take a boat to get there. It's kind of far for most of the parks, but it's huge. It's massive. It was big before, like 10 years ago when I was at Disney World last time, but now it's like, what? Like, it took me quite a while to like walk around and explore all of it, because, you know, Chris is one of those, like, I gotta walk around and see all of it. There's like the number, I think was like Disney numbered it, you know, 160 shopping, dining, and entertainment options. So it's pretty big. Disney Springs feels like Las Vegas in Florida. It really has a Vegas feel to it. A lot of the same things that are in Vegas are in Disney Springs. There's a Coca-Cola store. There's an M&M store. The Rainforest Cafe has a volcano. This was one of the coolest places I walked through, which was the T-Rex restaurant. Like, it's like the Rainforest Cafe, except it's themed like dinosaurs. More live entertainment, 2 big parking garages. There's a 2-story Uniqlo in there. It's pretty neat. And so, who's gonna win in shopping? The answer is gonna be Disney World. All right, so Disneyland 4, Disney World 6. So ding, 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 ding. Disney World is the better park between the two. Now, in conclusion, before I get to more Q&A and give away some shirts or a shirt, is if the question is, what is the best theme park overall? It's Disney World. Disney World is the best theme park overall. Biggest theme park in the world. Most visited theme park in the world. Disney World. Most rides, most shops, most hotels, most. Now, you're gonna need at least 5 days or 7 days to visit Disney World. If you don't got 5 days or 7 days, Disneyland's gonna be better. If you're somebody with limited time and you wanna ride all the rides, Disneyland's gonna be better. You'll be able to stay at the Grand Californian Hotel, walk to the two parks. Like, if you're a person who can get into the parks at morning time and stay till night, and you go on a not very busy day in like January or February, you can do all the rides in like 2 days and not stay there all that long and really feel like you've conquered the parks. So now if you say like, Chris, which one do you have a special place in your heart for? I mean, I live in Southern California, so I love Disneyland, but I love going to Disney World too. But if you're a true theme park buff and you can only pick one theme park, you should pick Disney World, and you should give it the full 5 to 7 days that it deserves.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
Jill says, aren't we comparing oranges to oranges? Yeah, one of the funny things is that like the counties that both theme parks are in is Orange County in both places. It's Orange County in California and it's Orange County in Florida. It's super bizarre. That's not the name of both counties. And Mars112 says, yeah, SoCal locals prefer Disneyland. There's just a special place in our heart for Disneyland. And one of the things as a SoCal local that I love about Disneyland is that, particularly if you're an annual pass holder, it's super easy to pop in for like an evening. You know, we would go in at like 6 p.m. and be there till 9 p.m. Just like hop on in for 3 hours, and it's a very SoCal thing to just do that. Like on an evening, let's just hop over to Disneyland for a couple hours, see a show, go on one ride, and then go home. Kathy says Disney cruises are coming to Australia. That'll be cool, Kathy. And Uniplex says Rainforest Cafes. Rainforest Cafe is still at Disney World. No Rainforest Cafe at Disneyland. The Rainforest Cafe at Disneyland was turned into a Star Wars store, the Star Wars Trading Post. Meritocratic Mafia asks if I've been to England after losing the OG Topher. I have not, but yeah, we actually said, hey, the currency is so cheap, we should go back to the UK again. WuTang says, what do you think about Disney cruise ships? I have not been on a Disney cruise. What people tell me who've been on Disney cruises, particularly with kids, is they love the childcare option on Disney cruises. The fact that the cruise line can take care of your kids while you can go see the sights, I think that's the perk that many people see for the Disney cruise. El Chancho says, I'd love to go to a theme park where Topher is the mascot. That would be pretty awesome. We'll have to work on that. Kel says, when did you visit Disney World recently? And no, this was a solo trip. Points Traveler says, where did you stay at Walt Disney World? At the Beach Club Resort at Walt Disney World. So you will see a video coming soon to review the Beach Club Resort. Brooklyn Joe says, will there be Universal Studios California versus Universal Studios Orlando? I have yet to go to Universal Studios Orlando, so that's one that'll have to be coming soon. Alan says, if you haven't seen a Disney AP annual pass holder bumper sticker on a car, are you really an OC resident? I've definitely seen them. I don't have one. I have a baby on board sticker on my car for what it's worth. Liz says, I grew up going to Walt Disney World. First time in Disneyland, I saw kids sitting in Starbucks doing their homework. I could totally see that. It's kind of funny, right? Parents are like, hey, we're going to go there. Why don't you hang out here, do your homework? Geoman says, when is your next video on adult Disneyland? Las Vegas, I'm going in less than 2 weeks. Probably not in 2 weeks. I probably won't have a new video in 2 weeks for you, Geoman. But I will certainly have a new video within the next 2 months, because I always put out a what's new in the next year in Las Vegas. So we do have a trip planned to Vegas here around the holidays. Emmett says, is there a difference in guest vibes? Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I think Florida has more people that have come there on like long haul trips. So you see much bigger like It's definitely like the family destination, where I feel like Disneyland has like more of like the Disney adults. There's definitely like more people that are at Disneyland without kids than at Disney World. All right, James says, I grew up at Disneyland, so that's my favorite. El Chancho says, which park is traveling princess approved? We've not taken her to Disneyland or Disney World yet, because she can't go on most of the rides, so we think it'd be sort of a drag for her. So we will let you know. Oh, but related to Universal, you know, one thing that y'all might see when we're planning our next trip to Japan, we are going to put Osaka on the map to go to the Nintendo Land at the Universal Studios there. So you might expect a Universal Studios Japan versus a Universal Studios Hollywood. Kid Blue says, which park is more budget friendly? Disneyland, I think, is going to be a cheaper park to go to, because you'll be able to stay at cheaper hotels that are in walking distance to the park. They're not going to be great. You didn't ask me where you can have great hotels for cheaper, but you can definitely spend less money at Disneyland because of cheaper hotels and the cheaper food options around the park rather than in. Priscilla says, how long have you lived in California? Born and raised in California, so 40-ish years, something like that. Chris, do you know how old you are? 40-ish years. You know, if you count all the days, weeks, months I've been on travel, maybe it's less that I've lived in California, but born and raised here. Love the Whistler videos, beautiful country. Geoman says, next stream, Disneyland versus Six Flags. That's an interesting one. Interesting one, Geoman. I don't know, I haven't decided on the next stream yet, but I will consider that as a potential topic. Danielle says, my mom called Bed Bath Beyond her big girl Disneyland store. I'm a Disney kid, had a Beauty and the Beast themed birthday party for my 9th birthday in 1991. Very cool, Danielle. That's awesome. I celebrated as a Disney adult, you could say. I celebrated nearly every birthday that I've had, starting from the age of 21 to COVID time at Disneyland. Obviously, COVID time hit, and that broke the streak, which is kind of a bummer, but I've enjoyed celebrating my birthdays at Disneyland. Mars says, which park out of the 4 is your favorite at Walt Disney World? I've only been to the Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. I like Animal Kingdom at Disney World because it's the unique park, in my opinion. I mean, Epcot is unique too, but I think Animal Kingdom is even more unique and more themed uniquely, right? Disney doing a zoo, I just think is super cool. Alex says, the new land is going to be COVID land. All right. I don't know if I'm going to go to COVID land, Alex, but that's cool. Joe says, favorite Disney food snack. So we've certainly talked about the corn dogs. We've talked about the churros, but I'm going to have to go for the steak gumbo at Disneyland, which is served at this little window right above the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. That's my favorite, like, one thing to eat at Disneyland. Anthony agrees that Las Vegas is the Disneyland for adults, and Geoman says, I got rained on at Animal Kingdom. Rain in Orlando? How is that possible? I believe it. Sorry, that's a bummer to rain out your trip. And Brendan says, the spam is annoying today. There are a lot of spammers on the live stream. If you're watching the archive, you probably won't see it, but thank you to all the moderators in the chat that are helping to bust those spam bots. The WuTang Life says, Disney owns ABC. Why do they not have much Disney programming like cartoons? I don't know. Why don't they have more? The Spunky Princess has really just been enjoying the Disney cartoons all on Disney Plus. That's what we watch now, and that's what we stream. Cyclonus says, there was a snack shack by Splash Mountain. Is it still there? At Disneyland, there is indeed a snack stand right in front of Splash Mountain. Now they serve, and now it's trendy, so now they serve like lobster rolls, you know, because lobster rolls are like the new trendy food, but you can sit there and look out on the Mark Twain Island and the boats that go around. Calgary Snow Traveler says, we just got back from SoCal from another trip there. Thanks for your California videos. Went to San Clemente, La Jolla, Seaward Village, Mission Beach, which we wouldn't have. I assume there's probably more to that message, which we wouldn't have. Which wouldn't, unless maybe Chris made some videos. So, all right, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed your trip. Tokyo Spin says, I'm heading to the Ghibli Park next month, won the lottery tickets. Are you keen to go when you head back over there? I think that'd be super awesome. Studio Ghibli makes some classic Japanese anime movies. I would love to get in there. I don't know if I'm going to win the lottery for the tickets or we'll be lucky enough to go in, but sounds like fun took a spin. I look forward to seeing your report. And Kyle says in the chat, do I go to DCA or Hollywood Studios? Disney California Adventure or Hollywood Studios? I think Disney California Adventure because it has the unique land. It has Cars Land that Walt Disney World doesn't have a Cars Land. And I think they did a super good job on Cars Land. I mean, when you walk around Cars Land, it really feels like you're in the Cars movie. The mountains really feel like mountains in Arizona or someplace like that. So it's a super phenomenal place. And I think Radiator Springs Racers is much better than Test Track at Epcot, even though that's based on it. And Cyclonus asks if I've ever covered WonderFest. I don't know what WonderFest is, so no, I haven't. But speaking of Comic-Con, Chris should be back at Comic-Con next year. I did get in on the ticket lottery for San Diego Comic-Con, so hopefully that all works out. I didn't make it to Comic-Con this year. Just wasn't, masks required and all those things and proof of vaccination. And I was not keen. I heard people were standing in lines hours long to show their proof of vaccination to get in. And I just wasn't feeling 4 days packed into a convention center, standing in lines to get in and wearing a mask the whole time. So hopefully we're done with masks by the time next year rolls around.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
All right, today I'm going to be giving away a Spunky Princess t-shirt. And by the way, I've had some questions. People said, Chris, why did you rename the Traveling Princess to the Spunky Princess? What's with the new name? How did you pick the new name? Well, I put out a message and I said hey, thinking of renaming the Spunky Princess, creating her own channel. What should I call it? And many of you gave great suggestions. Many people said, Chris, we still like the Traveling Princess. How about Traveling Princess Adventures? The reason why not the Traveling Princess, as we created her channel, is there's already a Traveling Princess who turns out to be a princess, like an actual princess who travels, and she trademarked the name Traveling Princess. And so, as we create a new channel, we need to come up with a new name, and Spunky Princess is one that it might not all be travel, because if you've been watching her adventures lately, she's been going to a lot of interesting local places that aren't even travel things. And the word spunky means courageous and determined, which if you've seen much of her, you will know she is courageous and determined, hence the Spunky Princess. And so anyway, that's the reason behind the name change, Spunky Princess, which will be her name on this channel and on her own channel, her channel, made for kids. So if you've got kids, if you've got grandkids, or you just enjoy a little bit of cuteness here and then, you can definitely check it out. And so my question for you to win this shirt, you gotta have watched her channel or looked at it recently, which is in her last video posted to the Spunky Princess channel. Where did she go? Where did she have her last adventure? And if you answer that, you will win one of these shirts shipped directly to you. If you didn't get in on winning one of the shirts, well, you can pick one up over at the Yellow Production shop, shop.yellow-productions.com. And if you wonder, Chris, when is the next live stream? Probably going to be next week. But if you want to be sure, head over to update.yellow-productions.com, link in the description below. Sign up for the Yellow Productions email list, and I will send you an email every time we are going to have a new video. All right, so looking in the chat.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
All right, there are 4 close answers to where the Spunky Princess went, but the first winner is Kel L. The Spunky Princess indeed went to a pumpkin patch in her last video. Kel, congratulations. You win the Spunky Princess shirt. Send me an email, address, size. I will get that headed over right to you. Second place, but no shirt, goes to Jeff. Jeff, great answer. Brandon got pumpkin in at number 3, and Dining with Derek came in at number 4, but Kel, you were number 1. So thank you to everybody for playing on the contest. Thanks to everybody for joining in on the live stream as usual. I always have a great time hanging out with y'all. I always learn some new things about what we're talking about right here. And as usual, I won't say goodbye because I'm going to see you in the next video. Whistler series still coming out here over the next few weeks, and then you're gonna see some videos from the Disney World and Orlando series. Well, fellow explorers, as usual, I won't say goodbye because I'm gonna see you in the next video. And this finger is the one I need to press the button, so I'm gonna put this one up to have the